Welcome back to Gold and Black Live. Kyle Charter, Stacey Clarity, and the football coach, Darrell Hazell, in his fourth year at Purdue. A busy spring here, as all springs are, through 10 practices. Jersey scrimmage tomorrow, spring game next week. And if spring weekend is a huge weekend. You have the game, you have the Cancer Challenge, of course, which you're in your fourth year as the honorary chair for, which takes a significant amount of your time, I would imagine, and is something that, from talking to you before, seems like something pretty close to your heart as well. Trying to raise as much money as you can for cancer research and Purdue and all that.
Yeah, we have a lot going on this week. We have a draft on Wednesday. We have a game night that we have a lot of fun with our players on Thursday night. We have a coaches clinic Friday with all the Indiana coaches coming in and our staff speaking and some visiting staff speaking. And we have our former NFL Super Bowl champions coming back and hanging out with us on Friday and Saturday. So it's a very busy weekend.
You have the 5K walk run on Saturday, the 16th at 8:30. Some big goals for it this year. You guys are hoping to raise $100,000. That's pretty significant. I think that the number's about $500,000 over its first 8 years, which is significant in itself.
Very significant.
How do you guys think you can get there?
Well, I think as many people that we can get to participate, I think that helps the cause. We have so many people in the community that, obviously have been touched by this crazy, terrible disease. And I think that allows people to say, hey, what can I do to help? And we've had some great response from our community.
Yeah, it's a disease that touched so many people, and of course the Purdue community with Eugene Parker here recently, obviously, and others as well. In your life, it's touched your life in direct ways, and I think over the last 4 years, you've probably had instances where you've met people through this avenue that you've become friends with and sort of seen their struggles.
Yeah, we lost a good friend this last summer, very young, well before her time. Kim Potter, she had two young kids that she left behind and a husband. It's just sad to see that happen to such great people, or anybody, but just, really people that you're close to. She was a close neighbor and friend of ours, and, it's very touching for the families.
For people who haven't been there and been part of the event, can you just maybe describe it a little bit on what do you do when you get there, and is there a certain message that you try to kind of send? And just, I would guess there's hope, even though there's struggle and people have lost people and people are running for people that they've lost, but then there are survivors as well.
Absolutely, and there's lots of hope, and that's why we do this, is because we're going to find, at some point in time, we're going to find the answer to this problem. But we'll get there, and we'll bring the team over about 7:30, and the program will really kick off about 8 o'clock. I'll speak at 8:15 and deliver some type of message that does try to provide that hope for all those people that are out there. But I think, you see the energy and the people out there with the smiles on their faces and knowing that they are helping to make strides toward finding the answer for this problem. I think that's what gives us all hope.
And this is going on at Purdue, which is, you guys are sort of, in a lot of ways, the face, I think, of the university, because people see you so prominently on Saturdays during the fall. There are people fighting this, right here, and it makes it such a great event, I think, to have that money, stay here and be able to, hopefully come up with a cure.
Yeah, that's the neat thing about this, challenge, is that all the resources that we do collect does stay here for Purdue University and the people in this community that can then make a difference.
We'll have more about that on the website on Monday, just to kind of throw that out there. I spoke with actually Lou Ann Blau, who is David Blau's mom, is a 2-time cancer survivor, and she's really passionate about cancer research, obviously, but also this event specifically. And so we'll have a bunch more information early in the weekend where you can support maybe us, Alan, Carpet, Golden Black has a thing, or maybe Lou Ann.
Yeah, her team, it's sort of cool because you can make up teams, of people trying to gain as much or win, I guess, with however much donations.
We all win.
We all do win in the end.
We all win.
But her team, I think, is leading right now with like $7,000, and I think the team's goal, all the teams collective, is to raise like $45,000, and I know Alan puts together a team, and we've won, helping everybody win
That's right.
in years. But you can find out more about that by going to thepurduechallenge.com. And as Stacy said, you can go to goldenblack.com too and find out information there. Football, you're through 10 spring practices. How do you feel like things have gone?
Well, we brought in 2 new coordinators, which is always different for guys to learn how they coach and the new schemes and systems. But we've had some tremendous energy on the practice field. I think the execution continues to get better each and every practice. Obviously, it's not exactly where you want it to be when you kick off the season next September the 3rd, but we're certainly moving closer and closer to that. And I just like the way guys are working and the response that they have when they have to get a problem corrected. They come back the next practice and they're able to fix those problems. But the tempo has been phenomenal. I think out of the 10 practices, I think 8 of them have been fantastic in terms of tempo and energy and those types of things. And the execution on the offensive side, and I think it's because of the way the quarterbacks are playing, it's been pretty high.
Yeah, I would agree.
You're a program that struggled in recent years, so measuring progress, you want to see it go from here to here.
Right.
That's just not how it happens generally. So how do you measure, I guess, right now, steps that you feel like you're taking to get to where you want to be?
Well, as a staff, you chart things as you go through. Now, do you go back and look at where you were 4 years ago as opposed to now? Probably not, because there's different things that are happening. But I think as we watch and evaluate as a staff every single practice and marking, where the competition has been tremendous this year with offense versus defense, and we're having a penalty. I think when you gauge the progress, you say, okay, are we getting the things that we need to get done in terms of execution? That's the bottom line. Are we executing at a high level on offense, receivers, quarterback, timing, all those things? And the defense is a little bit new for them, so it's a little bit harder for them to pick up, but they're getting it. They're getting it.
Just from, you had mentioned kind of the energy perspective from the guys, but you can see it out of the new coaches too.
Yeah.
Not,
No, you're right.
Jared Marcus and, I'm forgetting Terry, obviously. It's still there for them, Tabor as well, but these new guys, it's a little different kind of vibe there.
There's certainly more juice right now on the practice field than there ever has been, and it's genuine juice. It's not fabricated, and I think they really enjoy being around one another, the players and the coaches, and they're starting to see the vision of what's happening, and that's when it becomes fun.
Stacy and I have noticed we have felt like the new assistants, along with the ones that you held over, have been more hands-on with teaching, and probably something the program needs right now. To be able to teach guys, develop them at a young age. When you made some of the changes, was that something that you felt like we've got to get some guys in here who, are going to get these guys and mold them into a fashion that we want?
Well, I think you always, as a coach, as a college coach, you're always trying to develop guys from day one until the time that they leave your program. I think that's got to be a goal, and teaching is part of that. But I think that our coaches right now have done an excellent job in the meeting rooms, engaging those guys, and that's one of the things that we talked about when we hired this new staff. Hey, you have to get your guys to talk back to you in the meeting rooms. I think that's very critical. Instead of it being such a monologue, it's got to be a dialogue. This way, what guys really do understand.
Right. Yeah. We see that in practices too. I mean, you'll have your coaches will say, "Do you understand what you're supposed to be doing here?"
Right.
And the player answers, and if he doesn't know, then there's a conversation.
There's a correction.
Or if he does know, yes, you're right. Okay, let's, and I think you can even tell that in practice, not just.
Yeah.
Obviously, we aren't in the meeting rooms, but you can see that on the field as well, I think.
We'll come into the meeting room if you want advice.
Yeah.
Well, anytime you like, just ask.
All right. Well, ask,
We
and you
just
can,
opened
and you
a
can
big
say
door.
and you
Matt
can say
Rector's
no.
over
And
here
I can
like
say
saying
no.
no.
That's right.
Yeah,
And I can just say no.
And you can just say no.
Just say no.
Jersey scrimmage tomorrow at 11 o'clock, not the time that we mentioned earlier.
Correct.
You moved it up a little bit. I guess why move it up? Just felt like that was a better schedule. But the more important question is what are some of the things you're looking for?
Well, it was never, ever set at 12:15
Okay.
officially. Okay, we had talked about that time based on when we can get recruits in and all those types of things. But it is from 11 to 1. But this is a huge evaluation day for our staff and for players to really show how they're going to play on the game field. They've been practicing so hard and really continuing to get better. But now this is real. They can get on the game field and play at fast speed and physical and all those things that we're looking for them to do in the fall. And we're going to go for a long time. It's going to be at least 120 plays of back and forth. And, you know, I have a bias on who I want to win this, but I won't share that with you. But I do have a bias on who I want to win.
As an offensive-minded guy, I'm just throwing that out there, but.
I think he wants the defense to win.
Now we can debate, Kyle and I, that's
I
what
think
we
he
do.
does.
We just argue,
I have a
so now
feeling.
we have something else to argue about.
I have a feeling it's the defense.
One thing you had mentioned yesterday was that you wanted to be able to see the younger guys kind of
Yeah.
in a situation like this. To me, it seems like everyone is a younger guy, but at least the guys who are getting significant reps for the first time maybe in their career, you know, throughout this spring. Have there been a couple guys? You had mentioned DeJuan Hunt as somebody who
Yeah.
looked improved to you,
Yeah.
but maybe specific guys so far over these first 10 practices?
Yeah, DeJuan's one of the guys. Timmy Kason's one of the guys on defense. Mike Little, those corners in the back end. We're not going to play the linebackers that have the knee injuries,
Right.
which those guys are doing very well. But even the guys up front, more playing time for Eddie Wilson to see how hard and long he can play. And on the offensive side, Truitt, you're going to get a chance to evaluate, and you're going to get to evaluate those tackles that we've been flopping around. Flopping around is a good thing, not
No, I
flopping.
understand what you're saying.
Moving around.
Yes.
They're not flopping
Cross-training.
around. Cross-training. But, yeah, you know, some of those guys have done. Matt McCann has really been a guy that's kind of opened our eyes up a little bit this springtime, so.
And he's had to be in that role.
He's had
I
to
mean,
be in there.
so
He's been forced into that role,
Yeah.
which has been a good thing for him. And, you know, he looks like a Big Ten player. He does some things physically that you didn't know he could do. He's recovered on pass pro quite a few times where he flips his hips and gets on guys, and so he's got a chance.
Just that offensive line has 9 players right now. The unfortunate injury to Eric Swingler, who we've talked about him a little bit the last couple of days. He's a walk-on, but I think a valuable walk-on, and
Very
he's
valuable.
been pretty versatile for you guys, and really worked in a little bit with the first team. Where are you at with that offensive line? You feel okay right now, and you'll feel better in the fall, or how would you characterize it?
I would say that, you know, you're dealing with limited numbers, but I think at the level that they're playing, I think our center's doing Kurt Barron's doing a really nice job. Just watching yesterday's practice film, just how athletic and how he rolls his hips. King has been extremely good this spring. Roos has done a nice job. And then you have Martise, who might be, you know, maybe one of the best players in my mind in the conference. If he continues to work, he's at least trending that way. He's 351 pounds. He's got everything that you need to be a good offensive lineman at this level and maybe the next. Got to get in shape a little bit better. But then we're rolling guys at that other tackle spot. So you feel good about 4 guys, really. Now you got to find those 5, 6, 7, and 8. And some of those guys will come in the have to be backup guys and push guys for position in the fall.
and
But-
Cameron Sermon will
and Sermon will be back, which gives you some
Probably be
depth.
the
Yeah,
starter.
absolutely.
right.
You got to find a second center. I think that's the key. You have to find a backup center.
Peyton Druitt had never done it.
He's doing a good job
Before.
Now, his snaps are all over the place right now, so he's got to figure that out.
Right.
But you know what? The first time doing it, he's doing a nice job.
Just the offense in general, obviously Terry Malone is the new coordinator there. We've talked about, Kyle and I have talked about this before, the offense to us doesn't necessarily look different. Obviously the playbook is different and you're doing some different things. But I think for me, the one thing I've noticed is that the splits are wider on the line. And so what are, I guess, the positives with that and the negatives with that? You know, DJ Knox said, hey man, we have bigger running lanes. But maybe, you know, can you zone block less or double team less? Or I guess just your thought process on kind of that tweak.
The split tweak.
The split tweak.
The split tweak. You're getting really technical.
Sorry.
That's all right. That's okay.
She does it to me, too.
That's
I'm like,
is that right?
whatever.
Yeah, we're doing. We have a couple other schemes that we're running outside of the zone schemes. Okay, that the splits will help. But yeah, that's a good observation by you.
So say, you know, you had mentioned Kirk Barron's athleticism before. I think my face is red. You had mentioned his athleticism before. If you do man blocking, then
Yeah.
in theory you could take advantage of his and your guard's athleticism as well.
In man blocking or zone blocking?
I don't know. In man blocking, especially if you're pulling, I would think.
Yeah.
Stacy and I have wanted you to pull your guards more often for at least a year. You
have
got
you
athletic,
seen-
you
have
got
you-
athletic
have you
guards.
seen-
At the Northwestern game you did, and I thought it worked.
Did you see us? We've been polling quite a bit this
I know,
this
this spring you have,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Those are some of the new schemes that we introduced.
We're on board with that.
You like those?
I don't think you care, but
No,
we're,
I don't, but I'm glad you're on board.
we're on board with that.
Oh, am I going
Yeah, I
again?
guess, I don't know. Where are we now?
But generally with the offense, though, what are the differences that you like with Terry as the OC?
Well, you know, Terry's, he's been around the business for a
Yeah.
long time. He really has. He does a great job of bringing everybody in together, the staff first, and then that offense. And he always has some crazy theme song that he plays at the beginning of every meeting. And
interesting.
I mean, it's blaring throughout the hallways, but he's done such a good job of just giving everybody their role, pronouncing their role, and then holding them all accountable to their role on that offensive side. And we've simplified things greatly. And I was going to say tremendously, but I've said that already. Greatly, he's simplified things, and because of that, we've gone like this in execution in the springtime. And you know, it's fun to watch. The quarterbacks are throwing, and you probably have this stat, but I was just with Coach Lester, our quarterback coach, and he said they were both about 71% or completions, but so they're making some
Yeah,
progress.
hi.
Who's gonna win the job?
I don't know. They're both pretty good right
I
now.
thought you were gonna tell us.
They're both pretty good.
I thought we had you.
They're both throwing it very well. I think Sindelar has a few more interceptions than
Yeah.
David. I think David has 2 throughout the spring, which is phenomenal. I think Sindelar's might be 6. Yeah, 6 interceptions throughout the spring, so which is pretty good in itself. But he's a little bit late right now with
Yeah.
the ball. But he's getting better each and every day.
Is there, I'm gonna follow up.
Go ahead.
Just gonna
I
try.
was gonna too, go ahead.
Is there a chance you'll name a starter by the end of the spring? It's something you haven't done
Right.
the first 3 years. There are a lot of indications that David is ahead. He's the experienced
He
guy.
is ahead.
He's played a little bit better here in the spring, I think. Chance you'll name? Will you name somebody at the end of the spring?
David is certainly ahead right now.
Yeah.
He is. Yes, he
My,
is.
my question in regards to the quarterbacks, and we've talked about this a little bit throughout the spring, but not in kind of this setting. When you have an offensive line that already doesn't have a lot of depth, and then the number 2 offensive line you have is pretty shaky, I don't think that's a stretch to say that. How do you fairly evaluate Elijah behind a line where he can't maybe have what kind of protection he would have if he was playing behind the one offense
Yeah.
more often?
Yeah, like I said the other day, is that, you know, we'll always protect the quarterback, and with that second line, if they cut a guy loose and they come through scot-free, I'll give him a quick whistle, but the play continues, so he's still able to step around and step up and throw it, so he gets his throws. It's not like he's got to pull it down every single time. But he's going to get some opportunities tomorrow in our Jersey scrimmage to run with the ones, and not equal opportunities,
Right.
but he'll certainly get some opportunities to be behind that number 1 line. So we'll get a chance to see what he can do.
You mentioned earlier the defense, and, you know, Rossell's bringing in a lot of changes there, and, you know, probably a lot for the defensive guys to absorb. How do you think they're doing in that? Are they getting there?
The one thing I know that they're doing is they're studying it extremely hard. And because of that, I mean, I was standing in through our walkthrough in the back, and I was listening to him. Coach Freeman was signaling as Coach Els was giving the call, Coach Freeman, and they're all back there and they're talking and they're saying the call, what Coach Freeman's doing. So they're all talking about it. Because there's so much matchup, that's where a lot of the confusion will be until they understand, okay, when that guy goes there, my eye's got to cut somewhere else. But once they get that, I think that'll be, you know, a lot better for us.
You called it a substitution defense, is that right? I feel like
I
I
did.
have that somewhere. And I know Ross has talked about as wanting to be multiple. For me, as an outside person looking in, I felt like last year, if you were playing in Wisconsin or if you were playing Minnesota, you would play, I mean, you had a 4 linebacker grouping, you had a 5 defensive lineman grouping, you certainly have played nickel last
Right,
year.
right.
So I guess how is this different matching up versus what you did last year?
I thought last year we got caught a couple times, more than a couple times, of having mismatched personnel on good receivers, where sometimes you would stay in base personnel and not automatically, when you see the offensive team substitute and you're checking out what personnel group they're getting, and you automatically get your personnel. Sometimes we left the base personnel out there, and sometimes you would get Andy Garcia matched up on a number 3 wideout, which is not good when you're playing man-to-man coverage. So automatically this year, if you have an offensive team that's going to substitute, you see what their personnel is going to be, and then you make the equal substitution there. Sounds simplistic, but it's something that you have to do.
It'll be almost on a play-by-play
Could be,
basis.
based on how much the offense changes.
Unless Illinois is going to be spread 3 receiver, 4 receiver for most of the game, and you feel like you could play nickel or dime.
Well, if they're going to play 4 receivers, you're going to play dime. If they
Yeah.
play 3, you play nickel. Yeah.
It's a question from one of our viewers wants to know about your defensive line and its progress.
Yeah. I think, in my perspective, I think we have 3 very good players up there right now. One being Evan Panfill at the one end spot, Eddie Wilson at the one of the tackle spots. Jake Replogos, to me, is a freak, just a great player. And then we're trying to figure out who that other end is going to be. We're rotating Alston Larkin and Jalen Robinson at the other end. Then we have to find some of those young guys to be backups for us.
Jalen, at times has fallen down with the third group. Is he still a guy with a lot of potential that just is not there yet, and slower maybe to grasp changes in schemes, or how do you sort of quantify where he's at right now?
I think, my conversation with Jalen 2 days ago, running onto the practice field, was, I said, Jalen, talk to me. Why can't we get your motor to run hot all the time? Because he flashes. He's so strong, and he's so physical, but sometimes the ball's going away, and he kind of doesn't go as hard as we need him to go. And he says, sometimes I don't realize that I'm not doing that. So we addressed that, and he's going to continually try to improve on that.
Yeah.
Do you have a rush end position?
Not really. We're calling them left and right ends right
Okay.
now. I just met with the defensive staff before I came over here, and we talked about what we're calling these guys. Is it the Buck? Is it the Will? Is it the Sam? Is it the Mike? All those things. We changed the terminology on some of those. But right now we're calling it a right end and a left end.
What would a buck be?
Buck is the old Sam.
Oh, okay.
So we have a
Sam, S for strong side and S for Sam was so much easier.
so we have a Mike, we have a Will, we have a Buck. The Buck will come out in nickel package, dime package. The Will come out as well. Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, so you have a defense that has linebackers, about 7 of them who have experience, and 3 of them that are pretty experienced,
Right.
maybe more significantly others. But you're talking about running a whole bunch of nickel and dime and bringing a couple of those guys off the field. Explain that.
Well, you have to. You have to put guys in the best possible situation to be successful. So if you want to play Jimmy Herman on a 4-4 wide receiver, that's not the best thing that we can do man-to-man coverage. So you got to bring in a nickel or a dime to play that. Now, what it does for you is allows your linebacker room to be deeper. Because now all of a sudden you got Jimmy Herman, you got Juwan Bentley, you got Marcus Bailey, you got Andy Garcia, all those guys that have playing experience and they've been in the thick of things. Now you know that you have a deeper room. So if you lose a guy, you don't feel as bad as when you did last year. We got depleted at the linebacker room, and that was a big concern going down the stretch.
What happens if Jimmy Herman is better than that fifth
Then
defensive back?
you got to play him.
Yeah.
You got to play him, especially if it's a team that's, disguising. They're playing 3 wideout sets, but they're running the football the entire time, right?
Yeah.
So
We're probably running out of time here, but the 2 things from the last year's defense that concerned me most were stopping the run and getting pressure on the quarterback. So what have you seen this spring that makes you think you're going to be better in those
Well,
2 areas?
physically, you're better. Those guys up front are better physically. They're stronger. They're a little bit bigger. You take a look at Jake Replogo's profile over the last 3.5 years. When we brought Jake in, Jake was 6'4.5". He was 242 pounds. Look at Jake today.
Yeah.
He's 6'5.5". He's 292 pounds. He's so much stronger. I mean, just all those things from year to year that you watch the improvement. Now, he still has to produce, which he's one of the guys you can say he has produced.
Right.
Those other guys have to produce
Right.
at a high level in the Big Ten.
we are out of time here, so we'll try and wrap a few things up. You're putting the shovel in the ground a week from today, right? For the
What's
new.
today? Today's Friday.
Yeah, today's Friday. So for the new football facility, I mean, how big of sort of a marker is that for you guys for the program to, have Drew Brees coming back and that and before the spring game and sort of getting all that going.
Well, it's just absolutely exciting for our current players. It's exciting for our recruits that we talk to those guys about. It's a reality. I mean, a lot of people talk about building facilities, and that's a recruiting pitch. It's not a reality. This is a reality, and it's going to happen in 2 weeks. It's just so exciting for us to be able to have everything that you need to give yourself a chance to be successful. So I'm excited for our Purdue University because of that. Not just the football program, but the whole university.
Yeah. And of course, the Jersey scrimmage tomorrow, spring game, and the cancer challenge.
Yeah.
Just encouraging everybody to come out and
Right.
and hopefully we'll have nice weather at some point. I know
It's supposed to be in the
driving.
60s next Saturday.
Yeah, driving in here, you got hailed on.
I did.
think.
Yeah, my guy didn't take care of me. My guy, Matt Rector, who usually takes care of me, didn't even get me an umbrella this time.
Matt, our most loyal viewer,
He
I
is
think,
loyal.
has been
Matt,
the-
I'm going to tell you something. That guy is extremely loyal. I mean that sincerely.
There you go. Our most loyal viewer by far, I think, at least in person. I'm not sure if you spend a whole lot of your Fridays watching back in the office, but, well, I appreciate your time.
All right.
I know you're busy, a lot of things going on, and we'll be out there tomorrow and, of course, next Saturday and next Friday as well for all the festivities.
Great.
Thanks a lot for coming on.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
That's Coach Darrell Hazell joining us on the show. That's going to wrap things up for us. A special thanks to our sponsors, Hilton Garden Inn, State Farm agent Trent Johnson, Triple X Family Restaurants, and Basham Rentals as well. Thank you to everybody in the back for helping us get on, it's called On the Air, on the internet here. Thanks to Stacy and Brian as well, and to our guests, Raphael Davis and the coach, Darrell Hazell. Are we back? Anybody know? I have no idea. Are we back next week?
This could be our last
I have
show.
no
We don't even
idea.
know.
Alan's usually in charge. No idea. If we are back next week, you'll find us right here at 2 o'clock on Fridays. Thanks to everyone again. This is Golden Black Live.